Hello and thank you for attending my PowerPoint presentation on Remembrance Trailblazer. As usual, I'll be referring to Stelle, but you're free to pick Caelus. Additionally, Remembrance Trailblazer is also way too long, so I'm going to shorten it to Remblazer. Anyway, Remblazer is everyone's first Remembrance character. Just like how Remblazer was the first character to introduce Super Break, Remblazer is the first Remembrance character that also introduces Memosprites and also happens to introduce True Damage as well. I mean, Remblazer had to be at least as strong as Remblazer since that's part of the reasonable feud. This PowerPoint was recorded before Amphoreus' release, so I don't know what role the Trailblazer will play in Amphoreus. One thing that is noteworthy that we do know is that we caught the gaze of Huli near the start of the expedition, instead of at the climax when we usually catch the gaze of various eons. All combat info is based on the creator experience server, so thanks Prydwen and Guoba. All GIFs, or however you want to pronounce them, are also from either Keeping Up with the Star Rail or Guoba. All three links will be in the description. In terms of base stats, she has a fairly similar build with Remblazer, which is fairly bulky, okay speed, very low attack, and very high energy cost. This time she's tied with Robin for the second to third highest in the entire game, excluding Firefly and Argenti, because those two have special mechanics and whatnot. Her basics are basic. They generate 1 skill point and 20 energy, which is identical to most other basics. Remblazer's Memosprite Mem has an initial speed of 130 and has max HP equal to 80% of Remblazer's max HP, plus 640. For every 10 energy regenerated by all allies in total, Mem gains 1% charge, and as you can probably infer from percentage, it can stack up to 100%. Energy can come from any source, be it regular basics and skills, batteries like Huohuo Sunday Qingyun, enemies hitting allies, quid pro quo, etc. It does not matter. Her skill summons the Memosprite Mem. If Mem is already on the field, she restores Mem's health equal to 60% of Mem's max HP and grants Mem an extra 10% charge. Though remember from the talent, every 10 energy regenerates 1% charge, so effectively speaking, this generates 13% charge, because this consumes 1 skill point and generates 30 energy for Remblazer, or potentially more with an energy regen rope. Since Mem is the first Memosprite we will have access to, this is probably a good time to explain Memosprites more in depth. You can think of Memosprites as a separate party member from the Memo Master, like completely separate, party member 5. Therefore, unless stated otherwise, buffs that target specifically the Memo Master will not affect the Memosprite unless stated otherwise. Buffs that affect all allies can affect both the Memosprite and the Memo Master, but the Memosprite won't get double buffs because it does not inherit buffs from the Memo Master. So, in a sense, some people were worrying like, oh, don't pull Sunday, wait for Summon Robin. Robin is Summon Robin. Again, you can target skills on the Memosprite like you would any other party member to buff or heal or whatever it and it alone. Because again, this is functionally speaking party members 5 through 8. Well, depending on how many Memosprites you have. The Memo Master is again completely unaffected. When attacking or hit, the Memosprites will give the energy from that attack to their Memo Master. Memosprites inherit the out of combat stats except for HP and speed, and do not inherit conditional relic set bonuses unless stated otherwise. Basically, it inherits every stat on that screen, nothing more, nothing less. Memosprites have their own talents and traces, but the total materials required to max out a Remembrance character's traces, including the Memosprite, we are told is the same as any other character, which is very nice. Based on what we can tell from Mem, every Memosprite will have 2 active skills and 3 passive talents, one of which can be leveled. One of the active skills may or may not be automatically cast. For simplicity and clarity for this PowerPoint and others going forward, I will refer to the 2 active skills as Memosprite basics and skills, the passive talent that can be leveled as Memosprite talent, and the 2 remaining passive talents as traces. The basics, skills, and talents can be leveled to level 6. Mem's talent gives all allies crit damage equal to 12% of Mem's own crit damage plus a fixed 24%. Presumably, this only works when Mem is on the field. If Mem's charge has yet to reach 100%, Mem will automatically use basics during their action. When the charge reaches 100%, Mem's action will be advanced by 100% and Mem can use their skill. This is a pretty nice crit damage buff, though it's not as much as Sparkle or Bronya or Sunday. You should prioritize hitting speed goals as opposed to crit damage. For Mem's quote-unquote basics, they deal 4 instances of damage, each instance dealing damage equal to 36% of their attack to one random enemy. Then deals an AoE hit equal to 90% of their attack to all enemies. This does not generate or consume skill points, and generates 10 energy for Remblazer. Thanks to the A4 trace, this generates 5% charge, though effectively speaking, because 10 energy equals 1% charge, effectively speaking, this is 6% charge. As for Mem's skill, it advances the action of one ally by 100% and grants them Mem support for 3 turns. For every instance of damage dealt by the target that has Mem support, additionally deals 1 extra instance of true damage equal to 28% of the original damage. When using the ability on this unit referring to Mem and not Remblazer, it does not trigger the action advance, but it still gives themselves the Mem support. This consumes 100% charge, and the maximum charge is naturally 100%. This generates 10 energy from Remblazer, which again refunds 1% charge for Mem. So now I'll have to explain true damage. True damage is exactly what it sounds like. It is damage that is completely unaffected by any other multiplier in the fairly long formula. This instance of true damage is based off of existing damage, so technically speaking, true damage isn't affected by the standard damage formula multipliers, but technically the damage it's based off of is affected by those multipliers. So using those multipliers can still increase true damage. This true damage also does not discriminate. It works with regular damage, break damage, dot, additional damage. It does not care. It will work for all of these. This is basically an undiluted about 30% damage increase, because one of Mem's traces does increase this. I'm not too sure of how this will work with other true damage. We'll have to wait and see for more sources of true damage. So for the other 2 talents, when Mem is summoned, they gain 50% charge. And when Mem disappears, it advances Remblazer's action by 25%, so you can summon Mem again. Back to Remblazer, her ult summons Mem if she's not already there, then grants Mem 40% charge. And again, because Mem immediately gets 50% charge when summoned, this is effectively 90% charge. Then enables Mem to deal damage equal to 240% of their attack to all enemies. This costs 160 energy. Technically, this is Remblazer's ult dealing damage on Mem's stat, so if you want to buff this damage with Mem's support, probably target Remblazer with Mem's skill. For all other buffs, though, you should probably target Mem. After using Remblazer's technique, she creates a dimension that lasts for 10 seconds, which stops time within this dimension, halting all enemy movement. After entering combat against enemies with time stop, it delays their action by 50%, then deals damage equal to 100% of Remblazer's attack. Like all other dimensions, only one can exist across all allies. This is a nice QOL generally speaking, but is especially great for zero cycling or sustainless teams. Since this is a dimension, this works at the start of every wave, and since there's no actual CC attached to this completely bypasses CC res, like Svarog's 50% CC res or something. So onto Remblazer's own traces. Remblazer's A2 trace advances her action by 30% at the start of combat. Additionally, the first time Mem is summoned, they gain 40% charge. on top of the 50% by default, so 90%. Her A4 trace allows Mem to regenerate 5% when Mem uses their basics, not Remblazer's basics. Her A6 trace increases the true damage multiplier of Mem's support by 2% of the original damage up to 20% for every 10 energy that exceeds 100. She also gets 37.3% crit damage, 14% max HP, and 14% attack for minor traces. And again, since these stats show up in the main stats screen, Mem will inherit the crit damage and attack. On to Eidolons. We've been told that E1 to E6 are all available in 3.0, so we don't have to wait like we had to for Remblazer. Where E1 gives the ally with Mem's support 10% crit rate. Mem's support now also affects both the Memosprite and the Memomaster, regardless of which one has the buff. This will be nice for future Remembrance like Aglaya. Where E2 regenerates 8 energy when another Memosprite takes action up to once per Remblazer turn. This does not trigger with Mem, so right now it is entirely useless until Aglaya comes out. Her E3 gives +2 trace levels to her skill talent and +1 to Mem's talent. Her E4 gives Mem 3% charge whenever an ally with 0 max energy uses an ability. Additionally, if this ally has Mem's support, the true damage multiplier also increases by 6%. So effectively speaking, this allows Remblazer to be used with Fei Xiao and Acheron specifically, though Acheron you would still prefer Nihilities. Her E5 gives +2 trace levels to her ult and +1 to Remblazer's basics, Mem's basics, and Mem's skill. Her E6 sets her ult's crit rate to 100%, so it might actually do some significant damage, though probably not that much. Remblazer's a great character. Again, it needs to be at least this strong, since one of the main points of Fugue is to replace Remblazer going into Amphoreus and beyond. If Remblazer is weak, there's not as much need for Fugue to replace Remblazer because Remblazer would still be better. In a sense, this is kinda like a skill point positive Bronya or Sunday that can't really be speed tuned. He's probably one of the best characters for zero cycling or sustainless teams given how much charge Mem starts with early on, as well as her technique being very nice for sustainless teams, and the action advance obviously being very good. True damage is also a very strong effect. For the most part, at least 1.3x to any damage without exception is, well, it's bound to be really strong. If you can think of any better terminology to refer to the Memosprite skills and whatnot, please let me know in the comments. This is the best I can think of, and it's still kinda vague. Alright, thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed. If you did, do like and subscribe. You might as well check out the other PowerPoints while you're watching this one if you haven't already. Let me know what PowerPoint I should make next in the comments because I do read all of them. Alright, bye.